Good evening and welcome to Monday, August 10th. Welcome to Monday, August 10th, 2026, meeting of the City of Worcester Zoning Board of Appeals. My name is Jordan Berg-Powers and I will chair tonight's meeting. This meeting of the Worcester Zoning Board of Appeals will be conducted in a hybrid manner with both in-person and remote participation. As a preliminary matter to tonight's meeting, I would like to confirm the board members and staff who are present. Board members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Board Member Moremi?
Present.
Board Member Barnhagen?
Here.
Board Member Torcono?
Here.
Board Member Sacco?
Here.
And is Board Member Cortez not here yet? Okay. City staff, Michelle Smith?
Present.
Amy Beth Lath?
Present.
David Horn?
Here.
All right. Tonight's meeting is being live streamed from the City of Worcester website, and the recording will be available for rebroadcast. This is a public meeting, which means both that it is being recorded and that minutes will be taken and published at a later date. The public may participate remotely by calling 1-669-254-5252. Again, that number is 1-669-254-5252 with the access code 160-456-4634. Again, that's access code 160-456-4634, or using the link shown on the screen. Once an item is called, there will be a brief presentation of the item, followed by any additional comments and clarifications from members of the city staff. Then an opportunity from anyone from the public to speak on that item before we proceed to board discussion and action. To manage remote participation during our hybrid meetings and prevent disruptions, all participants are automatically blocked from unmuting themselves, turning on their video, or sending chat messages. For remote participants who would like to comment on an item on our agenda, we ask that you use the raised hand feature in Zoom during the discussion on that item. If you're joined by phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. Again, if you're joined by phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. Staff will then call on members of the public one at a time and give them permission to unmute themselves. If you are joined by phone, you will then be able to unmute yourself by pressing *6. Again, it's *6 to unmute. So you'd press *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute. Please note that board appreciates brevity in your comments. To help with this process, we ask all speakers participating in person to use a microphone, to please clearly identify yourselves each time you speak, and the first time you speak, please state your city of town of residence for the record. To help maintain an orderly meeting, please address all comments and questions through the chair, that's me, rather than directly to any of the other speakers or applicants. Applicants should be aware that approvals are generally conditional. Decisions are typically signed by the board at the next meeting and filed with the city clerk the following day, beginning the appeal period. It is the applicant's responsibility to address any conditions of approval, and lack of doing so may result in delays or enforcement. Please contact the Planning Division with any questions. Any party aggrieved by a decision of this board has the right of appeal under Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 17. There are a number of items on our agenda being continued or postponed tonight, which I will read through shortly. If you are here on one of those items, please note that no additional notice will be sent to you before the next meeting. The best thing to do is call the Planning Division the day prior to our next meeting to confirm if the item will be heard or postponed that night. It is not uncommon for items to be postponed multiple times before they're heard by this board. I'll suggest, for the purposes of streamlining our meeting, that Board Member Barnhagen offer to make any motions, and that for all intents and purposes, Board Member Moremi will second any such motion, and we'll figure out what to do if you're making a motion. In the event after either member prefers not to do so, I simply ask that you identify another member to do so. Okay, so right now, okay. Let me just also. I'm going to do the thing that I just told you all to do, which is silence my own phone. Okay. So we have one item for a continuance, 149 Plantation Street. There's a special permit. And for this, Board Member Sacco, while Board Member Cortez is logging on, I'll ask that you and Board Member Barton-Hagan vote on the motion for 149 Plantation Street, a special continuance, a request to continue the hearing to August 31st, 2026, and extend the constructive grant deadline to September 29th, 2026. Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to continue item number 149 Plantation Street to the dates as stated by the chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
On the motion, Board Member Moremi?
Yes.
Board Member Barton-Hagan?
Yes.
Board Member Torcono?
Yes.
Board Member Sacco? Board Member Sacco? I can't hear him.
Board Member Sacco, looks like you're still on mute if you haven't unmuted. We're gonna try again.
Board Member Sacco, you're still on mute? Okay, well. Yeah, my vote is yes. I mean, we'll move it forward. The problem is that we need 5 people to vote, and we don't currently have 5 people online. So we need to wait a second to see if we can get one of them to respond. Board Member Sacco or Board Member Cortez, we need a 5th person voting at this moment.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Sorry, guys.
All right. So if you are here for item number 149 Plantation Street, please talk to the planning division, and they can let you know when it will be heard. So as of right now, if I'm correct, voting on this one is Board Member Barton-Hagan and Board Member Sacco. Is that correct? City staff?
Through the chair, we have George, we just need to make him a co-host, so give us a sec.
Okay, yep, I'll give you a second.
All right, Mr. Cortez, looks like you're unmuted. You want to confirm we've got you?
Okay, this is George Cortez. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. All right.
Excellent.
Voting on the first one will be Board Member Barton-Hagan, and then Board Member Sacco, you'll vote on number 3, and in the meantime, we will always encourage everyone's participation. Okay, if you are here for 69 Orient Street, sorry for all the having to make it manage, but please come forward, or if you're online, raise your hand. Just state your name and city of town of residence for the record, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Board. My name is Mike Sawarda. I'm an attorney here in Worcester. I live at 32 Barbara Jean Street in Grafton, Massachusetts. My office is at 1 Mercantile Street here in the city. I am here representing ML Realty, the 2 principals, Helios Michael and Andy Loche, I hear, for questions. They have done some projects in the city and are anxious to see if they can do another one if granted the relief. Our petition asked for 3 pieces of relief for 69 Orient Street. The first was a variance for frontage. The second was a variance for area. And third, a special permit with regard to modification of the driveway and parking. I was advised by planning that there were 2 requests for waiver that we should also make orally regarding the lot percentage and the distance to adjacent buildings. So that would also be at this point, as you can see from the plans that we filed, right now there is a 1-2-family home that sits on the extreme left side of the lot if you look at it from Orient Street. The hope is that we will get relief to allow a division of this 11,000 square foot lot, which has right now 110 feet of frontage, and divide so that the current house lot will be have 50 feet of frontage and 5,000 square feet, which we would need variances for the 1,000 square feet, and also 5 feet for the frontage, and that the other lot, the other portions of the lot be split into 2 lots, each of 3,000 square feet, which would allow us to build a duplex, semi-detached, single-family home. The existing lot right now does have 11,000 square feet in the frontage. Interestingly, if the building were not on the lot right now, we would actually have sufficient frontage and square footage to actually put 4 units on the lot if the building weren't there. That's sort of our topographic issue with the variance, that the house is there and it's on the extreme side of the lot. As far as its location and its consistency with the neighborhood, most of the houses on that section of Orient Street are multifamily. There are very few single families, and it would seem appropriate that we have a duplex put in an area which actually has a lot of multifamily homes. Secondly, for, again, consistency in the neighborhood, we did some research as to how many square feet each lot in the area has with regard to a single unit. And the multifamilies in the area on Orient currently average about 2,155 square feet of land per unit, and our project will have an average of 2,750 square feet. So we're actually having a larger lot than what most of the project there currently has. As far as the new standards that we have with regard to practical difficulty, as I've said, we would be able, if the land were vacant today, we would be able to build. Secondly, from the petitioner's end, as far as the benefits to the city they'll be producing, we'd be increasing housing stock with the extra 2 units. Excellent location for those 2 units is because there are WRTA bus routes, 2 of them, that come to the southern end of Orient Street. So access to the core city would be available. The new units will certainly also increase the value of the adjacent homes in the area, because right now with that portion of the lot is kind of bladed and paved. As far as the difficulties, again, relating to conditions of structures, I've addressed that in the fact that it's the fact that the house is actually on the lot right now. If, as far as the hardship, the full value of the large lot, if we cannot divide it up, we really had a benefit of 4 lots if there was nothing there. Right now, 4 units, we'd only have 3 units, which would be a hardship. There's really no other way for us to address this other than for the 2 variances in the special permit. And it was certainly not a self-created hardship because the house that's on there now was built for the assessor's records in 1870. So it was well before even zoning came into shape. Regarding our special permit, we are not affecting any setbacks as far as the abutting neighbors. The setback squeeze that we have with regard to the driveways, et cetera, is between our 2 lots that we're setting up, so nobody is going to be inconvenienced that's in the neighborhood already. I'll turn it over. Gentlemen, anything you would like to add?
We're eager to work with the city to get,
You just gotta state, it's on, you just gotta state your name. and
my
say
name is
kind of-
Helios Marco. I'm one of the owners of ML Realty, and we're just excited to hopefully get this process on the way and possibly build a 2-family there. Yeah.
Okay,
Any
City.
questions from the board?
city staff first.
Okay.
Sure, through the chair, Michelle Smith in the city's planning division. So in front of you this evening, as you heard, two variances, one related to lot area, 1,000 feet of relief from the 6,000 square foot minimum requirement, and then 5 feet of relief for frontage, which is a 55-foot requirement. And then you've got a special permit to modify parking and loading, which you see quite often. We have recommendations for conditions of approval on page 6 of your memo. In terms of by right alternatives, you heard the applicant summarize that essentially they could build a single family with an ADU. They could also adjust the allocation of frontage and would be able to build the 2 units by right. The lot would be deficient with respect to lot area still, but those are sort of the options that the applicant would have, so similar density with an ADU. In terms of the comments that we had, mostly just related to questions about tree plantings and stormwater management, the application will be required to go in front of the planning board for both site plan review due to the steep slopes on the lot, as well as a frontage subdivision to reconfigure the lot lines, a glorified A&R. And the property is located in a background or baseline growth area in the long-range plan. I want to clarify just with respect to the landscape buffer requirements that they're seeking for the parking and loading. As you heard, that was along the kind of interior lot line between the 2 lots. They are providing less, about a half a foot between the parking area and that property line, and it varies whether it's 5 feet or 3 feet, where it is sort of a parking facility where you kind of have the parking stalls located versus where you have the driveway just leading to that area. So it's 3 feet for the driveway and 5 feet for that rear kind of parking area. That varies. I'm happy to answer any questions that the board has. Thank you.
Is anybody here for 69 Orient Street? Is anybody online? Use the raise your hand feature or press *9. Right.
We do have someone online.
Okay. Just state your name for city and city of town of residence, please.
Sorry, I muted him by accident. Oh my God. My fault. Okay. Oh my God.
I think we're just having an issue unmuting. There you go. You should be on mute.
Go ahead.
It's Ilmi here, the designer of the duplex.
Okay. Anything else to add?
Ilni, did you want to say anything else?
Working on the project and putting the design together. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
So, working on this project and putting the design together, this is going to be a great structural addition to the area, and it's gonna it is going to work perfectly with the surrounding. The way we put everything together, in the architectural context and the design language, it flows perfectly fine with the surroundings. So this is going to be great for the for that lot. I see it a good project.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, not seeing anybody else.
There was one other person
Oh,
that
there
had
was
their
another
hand
person.
raised. I'm not sure. Chris, did you want to be unmuted? If you did, please raise your hand again.
Chris, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Chris Peretti. I'm representing Land Design Collaborative, project engineer for this project. I had nothing to add. I just wanted to make sure I was available.
Okay.
Chris's organization, they'll be handling the planning board 15% grade special
Okay.
permit.
Great. Okay, not seeing anybody else come forward. I'll just say really quickly for myself, this is pretty straightforward. It's not far from my house. And I think you're going to be adding some parking, which is going to be helpful for folks for the house that's already there, as well as having underneath parking, and a duplex there will be fine. This is relatively, in all things being considered, small variance and special permit. So from my perspective, I'm happy to move this forward. And I look forward to other board members' thoughts. Board member, I guess I'll start with Board Member Barnhagen.
Just want to make sure that the applicant, you're okay with all of the conditions of approval that the staff put on page 6 of 9 of the memo? You don't have any issues with any of those? You're okay accepting those as part of your permit?
I know there was, we're supposed to be adding a tree in the back. What was that?
Go ahead.
A tree in the back, and we do have to handle runoff, which is something that we need to, certainly take care of, and would have that ready for the planning board meeting that we got coming up.
Okay. You just want to make sure, because sometimes applicants take issue with one or two of these and they want to discuss them, but if you're okay with these, that's fine.
Yeah, planning has been great to work with.
Okay.
And they've been very helpful, so I appreciate the cooperation that they've given.
Then I agree with the chair. I think this is pretty straightforward. It's a minimal relief they're requesting. It'll be a good addition to the street, and I'm happy to move it forward.
Board Member Remy.
I also support this project. It's a really nice design and an addition to the neighborhood. And I would just like to ask one question for curiosity. I was wondering if the two driveways to the garage, are they going to be separated or combined like in the picture? Just looking at the side plan, and I see some planting to the between the driveways.
We've actually adjusted that from where we actually started.
Okay.
In this case, there will be separate driveways.
Understood.
The turns to bring it into the middle, we weren't going to make some of the basics.
Great, thank you. So, no other comments besides that?
Great. Board Member Cortez.
Through the chair. Yes, I agree that this is sort of a straightforward, good project, and the provision of housing, and actually, I think it's an improvement for the neighborhood, the area, because that lot, the empty lot there, the way it is right now, is not a good look, and then the way it is. So it is. I do support the approval. Just a couple of questions. Since the entrance, since you have steps, no, first of all, let me ask, I'm sorry. Is it the intent to rent the units, or is it a plan to sell those houses, those two units, those two houses?
They're going to, I think, both be sold as individual units.
Single-family home attachments.
Did you hear that?
So
Go ahead.
the intent is to build and sell?
Yes, it's a build to sell.
I see. Yeah, the reason I asked that is because looking at the steps, if there are individuals with disabilities looking to get into the house, they probably would have to use the garage to go in. If at the end of the garage there is an easy way to get into the apartments, otherwise it would be not accessibility at all the way it is right now. But that's, that would be up to the people who wants to buy it, and if there are individuals with disability who wanted to buy, basically they would not have a chance. So that's just a point that I make. It's not that I have the purview to stop the project because of that.
Mr. Chairman,
That's
could
it.
I comment?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Part of the problem is because of the sloping in the back of the lot, the grade goes down, so the ability to have some flatter access in the back is compromised by the lot shape and topography.
Through the chair, and this is why it does happen, and the individuals with disabilities, they can enter through the garage when they need it, but then has to be access from the garage into the apartment. So I can imagine that there might be a step so from the garage into the house itself. Is that correct?
You want to comment?
So if you're speaking regarding the garage, you should have access from the garage to the unit. So once you park the car into the garage.
Okay, that would solve. Thank you. Let's move forward. I'm for the project, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, and thank you for raising that. That's a really good point. I just want to echo that when possible, it's not a requirement, but we certainly look favorably when taking into consideration people's accessibility needs. So thank you, Board Member Cortez, for raising that.
Sure.
Board Member Torcono. Board Member, sorry, technical difficulties. Board Member Torcono, when you get a chance.
Yeah, Eric, it looks like you're still muted if you're trying to unmute.
Now you unmute me. I was put on mute by the host.
Go ahead.
I have no comment.
Board Member Sacco, any comment?
Project, good chair. No additional comment. Thanks.
Okay. In that case, I will take a motion on 69 Orient Street.
I'd like to make a motion to close on 69 Orient Street.
Is there a second on the motion to close?
Second.
On the motion to close, Board Member Cortez,
Yes.
Board Member Maremi,
Yes.
Board Member Torcono,
Yes.
Board Member Barnhagen.
Yes.
My vote's yes. Is there a motion on 69 Orient Street?
I'd like to make a motion on 69 Orient Street for approval of variance for relief of 1,000 square feet from the 6,000 square foot minimum lot area requirements for a two-family dwelling in an RG5 zone. Approval of a variance for relief of 5 feet from the 55-foot minimum frontage requirements for a two-family dwelling in an RG5 zone, and approval of a special permit to modify the parking dimensional layout and/or landscaping requirements, loading requirements, and/or the number of required parking spaces, subject to the conditions as set out in the staff memo on page 6 of 9, and the waivers as requested by the applicant.
Is there a second?
Second.
On the motion, Board Member Cortez,
Yes.
Board Member Maremi,
Yes.
Board Member Torcono,
Yes.
Board Member Barnhagen.
Yes.
My vote's yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Next up is 6 Woburn Street. 6 Woburn Street. If the applicant could please come forward and state your name and city of town of residence, please.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, I'm James Tatro from Expedited Engineering out in Southborough, here representing Marcelo Barreto, who is the owner of the property at 6 Woburn Street, and he is also the applicant. He has before you a proposal to construct a small structure to house his headquarter, his business. He's been running his fire extinguisher business for over 20 years, and right now is working as out of a headquarters, if you will, maybe a little grandiose, out of Quincy?
Charlestown.
Charlestown, excuse me. I knew it was right next to Boston. And wants to establish his headquarters much closer to home. He's actually a resident off Randall Street. And so the parcel of land that you have before you at 6 Woburn Street is essentially mostly a meadow between a parking lot and on one side and condominiums on the other side. It's just over 9,000 square feet. It's 180 feet deep by 50 feet at the far end away from the street and 51 and change feet along the street. That relatively small dimension is really the foundation of the difficulties which require us to be before you, asking for variances from floor to area ratio and setback only for even just a fraction of a foot. And we're also seeking special permits in regard to squeezing in the parking per the city standards. This lot, again, is 9,230 square feet. As I say, it's on the north side of Warburn Street between Mount Ave, about evenly between Mount Ave and Rockdale. It is in the MG 0.5 district, also borders one of the residential districts. The applicant would propose to construct a 30 by 80 building with 2 levels inside. It would have an access of a man door and an overhead door at the front at the lower level. Would have some additional doors at upper level on the left side. We did soil testing there to show that we actually had pretty good stuff. We designed a proposed infiltration for all the roof and parking lot surface runoff to come in. City staff asked us actually to also provide a diagram showing that because we have a relatively narrow driveway, that somebody could turn in. We looked at Mr. Barretto's actually fairly large van as the vehicle, so it had a good test. There again is the architectural plan. And then that's a good representation of what you see, lower level entrance from the front. I guess I will just leave it at that. I'll just note that we are proposing a few retaining walls, but in all cases, not more than 4 feet high. It's varying from 2 to 4 feet on most of them. And I'll just try and answer any questions. I will just say we reviewed staff comments and suggested conditions. We have no objection to them. They included changing a couple trees, adding some arborvitae plantings, adding fence. We've discussed that. We have no objection. I'll try and take any questions.
And you have one waiver. Are you requesting the waiver?
Oh, yeah, I forget which.
6 of 10.
Yeah.
It's percentage of lot covered by principal accessory dwellings.
Oh, correct.
Do you request the waiver?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, city staff.
Sorry.
Through the
Yeah,
chair.
there was a little bit of uncertainty even with the staff as to exactly which variances or waivers we had to ask for.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, through the chair, and just to clarify on that, Michelle Smith in the planning division. So as Mr. Teacher highlighted, there are actually 2 different variances related to floor area ratio here. And so through our discussions, we identified after advertisement that we had actually only advertised one of the 2 different floor area ratio variances that are needed, because there is a note in the dimensional table that modifies sort of the standard floor area ratio for a portion of the lot. So the applicant's in front of you for 3 different variance requests, 2 related to floor area ratio, which is for, if we could go to the site plan, there's a sliver of the lot on the right-hand side, like 1.57 feet, that is located outside of a 50-foot buffer that the ordinance provides, which reduces the intensity of development adjacent to residential districts. And so basically, if you imagine from the west property line heading over and eclipsing the majority of the building, there is this buffer, and in that area, it reduces the standard floor area ratio in half. So it's a 0.5 floor area ratio, so this reduces it to a 0.25. So we had a conversation with the applicant about it. We think that the nature and description of the project were adequate to provide notice. Ultimately, the applicant's decision as to if they wish to proceed, they indicated they did, but just to put it out there for the record and have them confirm on the record that they would like to proceed.
We would like to proceed, yes.
Great, thank you. So the other forms of relief that the applicant is seeking to request relate to the side yard setback for the west side. Because of the proximity to the residential zoning district, this also takes the more conservative buffers for the residential district and applies them to the manufacturing structure, even though we're in a manufacturing zone here. So some of the nuances to provide some additional separation. So there's a 20-foot setback, and the applicant is proposing just shy of that. So they're looking for 0.2 feet of relief from that requirement. And then they are also seeking a special permit with respect to the various parking layout requirements. Along the west side of the driveway, you can see the driveway is more or less along the property line, given the narrow shape of the lot. So staff have asked for screening in that location in the form of a fence, just given the width of that. That is a variable width. It's generally speaking about a foot and a half. But in some places, it does reduce down to about half a foot, so that is an adjustment kind of depending on where you are on that lot line, but the 5-foot setback is what's required for a driveway. Similarly, on the opposite side, the east side, there's a similar 5-foot setback requirement, and the applicant has 2 feet. It's required to be fully permeable. There's a retaining wall, as Mr. Tatro noted, in that location, as well as others, resulting in that not being permeable. So they're seeking relief from that form. There's also 2 shade trees that are required on the western side in the location abutting the parking area in the rear, which the applicant is not able to provide given the location of the wall. So they're seeking to relieve that requirement. And finally, the requirement for the driveway to be 20 feet wide for 2-directional circulation. They have an 18-foot wide driveway. So those are the various forms of relief that they're in front of you for. By right options would be obviously to build a smaller building. This is 4,800 square feet, so it's relatively small to begin with. So they would have to reduce that in size further. They could also reconfigure the layout and design, most likely shifting the building to the back, but it would require substantial redesign and reconfiguration of the building, given they're trying to use the sort of slope to their advantage to have sort of a bi-level access to the structure. And it would likely result in other changes, but that could potentially result in the parking being compliant with the requirements in terms of setback, consolidating the driveways. So there are potentially some other options, but they would likely, be challenging for the operational component of the building. We had a number of questions that the applicant has responded to. We do have all of the comments that we have conditioned adequately. The applicant was amenable to those. They will be in front of the planning board, given the slopes on the site for site plan review. And the locations in a managed growth area in the city. This is north of Ararat Street, west of Rockdale, and to the north we have a mostly residential neighborhood, but along Rockdale and further kind of to the east you have more manufacturing, commercial uses. This transitional area, obviously, based on the zoning district line that we've been talking about and how that's affected the relief for the project. The applicant did indicate they're planning to operate 8 to 5 Monday through, I believe, Saturday as potential hours. Not that you're conditioning the special permit, but just for a little bit of context about how they're intending to operate with essentially everything located in the building, including trash. They're not proposing to have a dumpster at this point. Again, happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Okay, is anybody here for 6 Wilburn Street? Yes, please come forward. Just state your name and city of town of residence, please.
Hi. Carlos Cordero. Oh. And I live in 18 Mount Ave, Worcester, Mass. And this parcel, this gentleman wants to build, is to the right of my backyard. I'm just more curious because the picture looks really nice. It's when it's built, what is it going to look like? That street is on an incline, not flat like that. That's misleading. Well, go ahead, laugh, but that's the truth. And I just don't know how you can fit 3 pairs of shoes in one box. And behind that, there's a 3 apartments that doesn't show in none of the pictures. I'd like to see a more blown picture that shows the apartments and the surrounding areas. Because I didn't know that Wilburn Street, I've been there since the streets were dirt. That's how long I am. I've been around. And, oh, now the picture shows. And the guy that built those 3 apartments paved the street, but Wilburn Street was never a business side of things. Rockdale is. And the parking lot in front of that, his parcel belongs to the school in front. So I don't know. I'm just curious. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll let the applicant answer your question directly, but I think having been out there, you're right, it's very steep. I remember in Woburn, getting paved, and so the way to think about it is that it's actually a transition portion. So the parking lot is in a manufacturing district, and
Which belongs to the school across the
yes,
street.
and the up the street is the residential.
Right.
And so they are triggered because it's like a transition piece of lot, but it's technically in the,
But the parking lot doesn't belong to his land. It
No,
belongs-
but the-
It belongs to the school.
yeah, but the way to,
Rockdale Street.
right, but the way to think about it for our laws is it's considered manufacturing.
City
so that-
Hall.
Yes, well, that's what I'm governed by. So the way that the city thinks about it is that it's a manufacturing area, even though obviously it's a school and a parking lot. And so what it does is it transitions into the residential, and he has to meet the criteria of the slope that you're talking about, that gets extra look at from the planning board, and he has to build it to look something like what he's giving us.
If I'm the owner of the parking lot and I go in there and put a fence,
You could do it if you have some rules. There's some rules around it. You couldn't just do it,
Right.
but yeah. But yes, but so if you wanted to do something like that gets more complicated, I'd tell you to get to the planning board, but essentially, if they wanted to make changes to the parking lot, they'd probably have to come before us as well. And similarly, because of what he's doing to build a building there, even though it's in the manufacturing district, because it's transitioning into the residential, he has special oversight. And so some of the things you're concerned about, the slope, the look, the making sure that it actually functions, those are both what we look at with and the city staff, and also the next board, should we pass it, the planning board will also look at those questions and make sure that it looks like what he's proposing.
I had a question, what is it going to be built there?
It's a business for, I think, fire extinguishers.
Fire extinguisher company.
Yeah,
Yeah, it might be the safest building in the city.
Mr. Barreto's business, through the chair, is he
just
provides fire extinguishers to various businesses.
Fire extinguishers, yeah. So does that answer your question?
My question?
No, well, I want one at a time. Yeah, I want to make sure I get his question. I'll get your question. Yeah.
It shows a driveway over there in the back.
Through the chair, if you could just talk into the microphone.
Oh, yeah, you got to talk in the microphone. Sorry, it's a public
I thought it
record.
was loud enough.
No, yeah, it's
So that's in front, that driveway is in front?
correct,
The building?
yes.
And so
Yes.
what's behind it?
The parking
The
lot.
parking lot, the parking lot to the length of it.
So you're going to have to,
Just make sure you talk to me, please.
and over here, there's the 3 buildings, right?
That's condominiums.
So what are you going to retain that wall? What are you going to put there? You're looking at me like I'm talking from another world.
You got to talk
You
to me,
said,
please.
how are we going to retain that wall?
Correct.
Well, I don't know, that's an interesting phrasing. You use the retaining wall to hold back the earth.
Yeah,
You
there's
don't
going to be a
retain the
wall.
It's a pretty, it's
It's, right, so it's going to be
6 feet tall.
so the wall at its height will be no more than 4 feet to hold back the whatever is going to be down there.
Is that what you heard?
Well, that's the rules. If it is more than that, then they'll get in trouble. 4 feet,
4 feet.
yeah. If they try to do more than that, they'll get, again, you have to talk into the microphone, but if there's any trouble, like if you're worried about the height, you can always call the city, and they do, to get a permit for this, they have to meet what they've told us, right? There's rules on what they can and can't do. Yeah, go ahead. Come forward. Just state your name and city of town and residence, please.
Maria Cordero at Mount Ave, right behind it also. My question is.
Can you just talk a little bit more into
Oh,
the microphone?
sorry. Is it going to be an office, or is they going to be building, manufacturing things there?
I don't believe they're going to be manufacturing
Okay,
things, but
so-
I'll let the applicant answer that question.
It's an office.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Now, behind the building,
Yeah.
right, is there going to be trees? Because to be honest with you, I'm right behind, here's a 3-decker. Here's my house right here. I can look down and see it. And to be honest with you, last thing I want to look is at a building like that. Is there going to be trees behind where,
Yep, let the applicant answer the question.
Just quickly, Mr. Chairman, one of the conditions of approval to which we have no objection, which was suggested by city staff, was planting arborvitae along the west, left side as you're standing in the road, and north, the far side away from the road boundaries, and we have no
So
objection.
the short answer to your question is yes, there will be trees in your view.
There will be trees.
Yes, they have to plant them.
This way and this way, because when I look down.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
in that corner, yes, in
Okay.
your exact corner.
So my other question is.
Yeah.
no, you
Can you
should-
just talk into the microphone again,
Sorry.
please? No, it's okay.
My other
Go ahead.
question is, now the building, is it being built where the grass is?
Yes,
Okay, right where the grass is?
yes, that's correct.
Okay, I'm not only concerned for myself with the trees, but I don't think there's nobody here from those three deckers. I mean, I feel bad for them. I really do. I know they have children, they play, they ride their little bikes there, and they play there. That's like I do feel bad, because they have little ones. I mean, I don't, but, okay, so there's trees. At some point, we're not going to see this building,
You might still see the building through the trees, but there'll be trees there.
but there will be trees.
That's correct.
Okay, and how many people are they're employing? How many people are going to be employed there?
From now, it's just me and my son.
Okay.
Just state your name
And
for
the
the,
trees that are there right now,
State your name.
yeah, my name is Marcelo, I'm sorry. I'm
No,
the
it's
owner
okay,
of the
please.
property. And the trees that are there right now, they're gonna remain, and if we have, as was proposed, we're gonna, put the trees and the fence up if you need it,
Okay.
that's,
Yep.
we're not gonna try to, change drastically anything, it's just,
We want you to run your business successfully.
Yeah,
We
thank
just
you.
wanted to have it look nice.
yeah.
talk to me, please.
Oh, sorry. Oh,
It's okay. It's okay. No worries at all. No worries at all. It's a
Okay.
formal process.
Okay, it was my first time. I'm nervous.
You should not be nervous. Go ahead. You're asking great questions. Go ahead.
Okay, well, that was it.
Okay, great.
And, and when you planning on building?
So they will have to go through the planning, if it gets
Okay.
passed here, it has to go to the planning board, and if you have any questions on their timeline, you can always contact the city, and they're happy to give you any information you
Okay.
need.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. No problem at all. Thank you.
And through the chair, just minutia, but I just want to clarify, the trees are arborvitae, not trees, so they're like evergreen shrubs. I just want to clarify, just
You'll
because
still
of the
see through.
location with the retaining wall. So they would be like
You'll still be able to
6 foot tall when they're planted, and they grow fast, so they'll continue to grow into like a hedge and extend taller. But because of the location of the wall, I don't believe that there was adequate room, particularly on the west side, to have anything beyond that. So I just want to clarify that they're not like big shade trees.
Right. So they're not, does that make sense? They're like, they're basically meant for like big hedge. They're about 6 feet to block some of the view, but they're not like a big oak or shade tree. They're 6 feet. They'll grow a little bit to over 6 feet. They'll be above there'll also be a wall there as well. Yep. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Anybody online? Okay. So going to board comment, I'll just say really quickly, this is a small request, literally in the point zeros. And I actually think this will be nice. I was out there. It looks like a fine thing, and as I joked, it'll be the safest building in the city of Worcester with fire extinguishers. So I'm happy to move it forward. And you got all the other questions. Board member, voting on this is going to be board member Sacco as the alternate on this one. And with that, I'll go to the room first. Board member Barthagen.
Through the chair, yeah, I don't have too much to say. I mean, yeah, because the requests for relief are minuscule here. So this is almost complying with every zoning rule we have, except just slightly off. So I tend to give the benefit of the doubt to those types of applications. Plus, I think I agree with the chair that this looks like a really good building. It'd be nice for you to have your business be closer to where you live. I also feel a little bit, it's, unfortunate that this is right next to that condo building. But I think it's relatively minor in my mind. I think this is in the manufacturing district, and this would be a good use for that manufacturing acreage. So I have no problem with it.
Board member Remy.
I agree with your comments, and I have no additional comments, except I support this as well.
Board Member Cortez?
Board Member Cortez, you are muted.
Yeah. Just to get ready, Board.
Sorry about that, through the
No,
chair. I don't have any problems with the proposed building, the way it is and everything else. I just have a question. There is a basement and a first floor, correct?
Yes, the entrance off that's closer to Woburn Street will be one level below some doors on the left side of the building off the driveway.
Okay, so with that on the pictures, I do see windows on top of the first floor. Is that something, is that just for light that goes through?
Yes.
Or is it something that is another kind of a level type in there, like an attic or something for storage, or what is it?
As you first guessed, it is just for light. It's because that's the south face of the building. It's to bring a little light in that won't otherwise be there.
Okay, thanks. Other than that, I'm for it.
Okay. Board Member Torcono?
No comment.
Board Member Sacco?
No comment, guys. Thanks.
Okay.
Through the chair,
Yes.
this is George Cortez again. I missed another question, and that's in regard to the retaining wall. In that retaining wall is basically should be low, no more than 4 feet, and so is there a fence to be placed on top of that retaining wall? What is behind the retaining wall? And just for purposes of safety or anything like that, I always ask, retaining walls, if there's going to be some type of a fence on top.
And to the chair, one of the other staff recommended comments was the installation of fencing, which would in much of the case be either on top of or immediately beside that retaining wall, or those retaining walls, I should say.
Either way, so that's an option with retaining wall. So that answers my question. Thank you, and let's move forward.
Okay. So we will need, Board Member Cortez, we'll need you to second on these motions upcoming. So on that, I will entertain a motion to close.
I'd like to make a motion to close for 6 Woburn Street.
Second?
No, you're so moved.
So moved, sorry.
Is there a second?
I do second the motion.
On the motion to close, Board Member Cortez?
Yes.
Board Member Moremi?
Yes.
Board Member Torcono?
Yes.
Board Member Sacco?
Yes.
My vote's yes. Is there a motion on 6 Woburn Street?
I'd like to make a motion on 6 Woburn Street for approval of a variance for relief of 0.2 feet from the 20-foot minimum side yard setback requirement for a non-residential use in an MG 0.5 zone. Approval of a variance for relief of 0.02 from the 0.5 to 1 maximum dimensional floor to area ratio in the MG 0.5 zone. A variance for relief of 0.27 from the 0.25 to 1 maximum dimensional floor to area ratio in an MG 0.5 zone. And for approval of a special permit to modify the parking dimensional layout and/or landscaping requirements, loading requirements, and/or the number of required parking spaces, subject to the conditions set forth in the staff memo on page 6 of 10, and the waiver is requested by the applicant.
So moved?
Is there a second?
I do second the motion.
On the motion, Board Member Cortez?
Yes.
Board Member Moremi?
Yes.
Board Member Torcono?
Yes.
Board Member Sacco?
Yes.
My vote's yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for your time, and thank you, staff, especially for making what was a very confusing situation a little more clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Do you guys mind, can you make a motion real quick for a 5-minute recess? Hold on one second.
I'd like to make a motion for a 5-minute recess.
Can you second it?
Second?
All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay, we'll be back at 6:41. Thanks.
Cool.
Before we get started, we need to confirm the board members online are available. Board Member Cortez?
Here.
Board Member Torcono?
Here.
Board Member Sacco? Just a second. Is this better? Can you hear me okay?
Can you hear him?
Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. Board Member Sacco? He's there. Board Member Sacco, if you could unmute. Oh, there we go. Great. All right, next up is 232 Stafford Street. If the applicant could please come forward, state your name, city of town of residence.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, Mark Bornstein. I'm an attorney here in Worcester at Prince LaBelle, representing the applicant. Before you this evening, our applications in connection with a residential community at 232 Stafford Street for variances for relief for the maximum height and also for frontage and also a special permit to modify parking layout requirements. We have a short video presentation for you. After that, we'll turn it over to staff and to the extent needed, I'll introduce other members of the team that will speak to any questions that the board may have. So we'll do the video. Thank you.
Okay, there's gonna be a video.
Hopefully. 232 Stafford LLC is pleased to present its proposed residential community at 232 Stafford Street in Worcester. The property consists of an approximately 36.7 acres and is currently occupied by the Worcester Academy's New Balance athletic fields. While the site has approximately 588.8 feet of frontage along Stafford Street, it extends significantly to the west, creating a large, irregularly shaped parcel with unique environmental features. The property is surrounded by a diverse mix of uses. The property is bordered by established single-family homes along Ludlow Street to the east, commercial development along Stafford Street to the south, residential neighborhoods in the town of Leicester to the west, and the Greater Worcester Land Trust Kettle Brook Conservation Area and trail network to the north. A defining feature of the site is Kettle Brook, a perennial stream that runs through the property, placing portions of the site within the floodplain. Together with the site's varied topography, these natural features create constraints which have guided the project's design from the very beginning. In February 2026, the Worcester City Council rezoned the property to the Residence General RG5 zoning district to facilitate residential development at the property. The proposed project has been designed to implement that vision while respecting the site's natural resources and the surrounding neighborhood. The project will create a residential community with a total of 207 residential units. It includes a 4-story multifamily building containing approximately 57 apartments and surface parking with approximately 152 spaces. The project will also include 150 townhome rental units located within 26 single-family attached buildings. Variations in exterior wall materials, depth, and detailing will provide a rich texture and break down the scale of the proposed buildings. Each townhome includes an attached garage and private driveway parking. In total, the development will provide 452 parking spaces, satisfying the city's off-street parking requirements and ensuring ample parking for residents and visitors. The layout of the project has been carefully planned to place the majority of the development away from Kettlebrook and the floodplain while preserving substantial open space and existing wooded areas along the western portion of the property. Those preserved areas will continue to provide natural habitat, protect water resources, and create a vegetative buffer between the residential development and the surrounding properties. The residential community is organized around an interconnected internal driveway system. There will be a primary driveway off of Stafford Street to the south and an emergency access driveway off of Hyatt Street to the north. The internal roadway network has been designed to provide safe and efficient circulation for residents, visitors, service vehicles, and emergency responders. For example, the primary entrance is located in an elevated portion of the site, and the emergency access driveway is located entirely outside of the floodplain. Furthermore, a comprehensive traffic analysis concluded that the surrounding roadway network can safely accommodate the projected traffic generated by the development without creating significant congestion or adverse impacts to nearby intersections. The project also includes landscaped open spaces, amenity space along Stafford Street, pedestrian walkways, bicycle parking, stormwater management facilities, and extensive new landscaping throughout the site. New trees and plantings have been selected for their long-term sustainability and resilience, with all tree species being Asian longhorn beetle and emerald borer ash resistant. The project will require relief from the drive aisle width, frontage, and building height requirements. Certain drive aisles will be as narrow as 20 feet, requiring 4 feet of relief through the requested special permit. The 150 townhouse units would generally require 3,000 feet of frontage, while the property has approximately 588.8 feet of frontage along Stafford Street. The project therefore requires approximately 2,411 feet of frontage relief through a variance. Certain townhouse buildings will be elevated above the floodplain, resulting in additional height, while other buildings are designed to follow the property's natural topography and minimize grading. These townhouse buildings that will exceed the maximum height requirements will require relief through a variance. Importantly, though, these buildings will be set below and away from the existing Ludlow Street homes. Moreover, the tallest structure, the multifamily building, will comply with the RG5 maximum height requirement and will also be set below and away from the existing homes. Overall, the proposed development reflects a balanced and thoughtful approach to residential growth. By responding to the property's unique natural features, preserving substantial open space, and providing a diverse mix of housing opportunities, the project creates a well-designed neighborhood that complements the surrounding community while helping to meet Worcester's growing need for housing.
Thanks, Amy Beth. Mr. Chair, if I may, just a couple additional points.
Yep, if you could just talk into the microphone a little bit more.
Yes, certainly. Is this good?
Can you hear him?
Barely. Okay. I'm gonna really not shout, but I'm gonna try to be as clear as I can and as loud as I can. So just a couple additional pieces of information just to supplement the video presentation. As the team has been refining the floor plans for the multifamily building, they've decided to modify such that there will be 59 units instead of 57 units. So we're now proposing 209 units total versus 207 units, which are reflected in the findings that we submitted to staff. But I just wanted to make that clear for the public and for staff and the board. In addition, I just would like to talk through some of the ongoing processes that have taken place, and I'm sure staff will also comment. Once we submitted the applications, we received some initial feedback from the fire department and emergency management with respect to the floodplain, and they asked for certain modifications. We had previously proposed an additional emergency exit off of Stafford Street, not off of Hyatt Street. The fire department determined that they would like a second means of access from Hyatt Street. So we've added that to the plan. So you might see in the staff memorandum that we submitted the plans on August 3rd. That was in response to that particular comment. Other than that, the layout of the site has not changed. In addition, we've been working with DTM to address any questions they have regarding traffic counts. We've submitted that memorandum. We were requested, I think, on Thursday or Friday, and we immediately submitted that report. Certainly, a lot of these additional items, while partially within the purview of the ZBA, will also be addressed through the planning board approval process. I would also like to just highlight one aspect of the relief globally is you'll see that the relief associated with frontage and height pertain to the townhouses. And that's because townhouses usually contemplate ownership units, and there's no cap on the required amount of frontage for townhouses. As staff, I think, references in the materials, if we had built subdivision roads and had separate ownership, we wouldn't need relief. Similarly, as referenced in staff memorandum, if we were proposing only multifamily housing, large multifamily housing, I believe we can build over 2,100 units by right on the property without need for relief for frontage or height. So I just want to make it clear to the board that while we're seeking relief associated with the project, it's not because the project is overly dense or that we are somehow trying to find accommodations. It's because the developer is proposing a very unique type of housing option, which is single-family rentals. And so because they're all on one lot, we have to seek relief associated with frontage. And similarly, because there's internal driveways instead of streets, we have to seek relief associated with the frontage. So I just want to make sure that's clear as we're evaluating the criteria, we're evaluating the relief. This site could be significantly more dense than the developer is proposing, but they want to provide a more attractive neighborhood for residents. And the other piece that I want to speak to, which I think is important in terms of the overall development, is, and it's one of the conditions of approval, the development team has been actively speaking with Greater Worcester Land Trust to come up with some method to preserve the westerly portion and the northerly portion of the site. So, so globally, we're going to have a less dense site than what's permitted by right if we were to do multifamily housing, and we're going to have a portion of the site that's going to be either conveyed or there will be a conservation restriction that will restrict development on that westerly portion going forward. I know that in the staff memorandum, staff has highlighted that they would appreciate additional time to review this application and these plans. We certainly understand that, and we certainly welcome that ongoing dialogue with the planning staff. We would just respectfully request that after we go through the conditions of approval, that to the extent that the board would like to move forward with a vote, we would ask for that for purposes of moving the project timeline forward. The applicant is not the owner of the property. They have not submitted any planning board applications, and they don't want to do so until they have the necessary relief to the extent that the board is willing to grant it. So we recognize the staff has evaluated the plans, but I just want to highlight for the board that we are committed to continue to work with staff, all of the departments to ensure a safe development. And with that, I'm happy to turn it over to staff. We've talked through some of the conditions of approval. They're generally all acceptable. We would respectfully request the waivers recommended by staff. But happy to answer any questions after staff has weighed in on the project. Thank you.
Okay. City staff.
Through the chair, Michelle Smith, again in the city's planning division. So again, in front of you this evening, an application for 2 variances and a special permit. We're in an RG5 zoning district. You heard that the property was recently rezoned by the city council. So this was a relatively recent change, and the sort of general character of the neighborhood. I think there was a slide that we had that showed the kind of land use classifications. So basically to the northeast, you have a lot of lower density residential uses, and then along Stafford Street itself, you have a variety of different uses, including manufacturing uses directly off of where the driveway is proposed across the street. So in terms of the project, they are proposing to build 26 different structures for attached or townhouse style single-family dwellings. So these are units that have to have a minimum of 3 units in each building to qualify for that under our zoning. So that equates to 26 buildings with a total of 150 dwelling units within those buildings. There are 300 parking spaces associated with those units related to the garage spaces and the surface spaces that are being provided. And then with respect to the larger building that you see on the site, this is a multifamily building, a high-rise building, technically speaking, which is 4 stories. And that building itself is proposed to have not 57 as was advertised, but in fact 59. The applicant has change that with their updated findings as of today. So we're first just a matter of business confirming that the applicant is comfortable proceeding. Great. So the plans that the board members have do not reflect that change in unit count, just to be clear. So if you're wondering, it's just 2 units, but just the materials don't include that change that was recent. So, and then as part of the multifamily area of the site, there are 152 parking spaces. So basically this breaks down to 209 dwelling units and 452 parking spaces that are proposed on the overall site in the configuration of multifamily and the single family attached townhouse style dwellings. So just to reiterate. So the reason that the application is in front of the board is because the lot is lacking the minimum frontage. So there's 3,000 feet, as you heard, required by our ordinance. The multifamily uses have a cap that actually limits frontage at 100 feet. We have that, it's satisfied, but unfortunately the townhouse style dwellings do not have a similar cap. They're contemplated in a different way, and so that note that we have limiting for multifamily density does not apply to the townhouse style units. So that is really what's driving the relief that's in front of the board this evening. So they're seeking relief from that. It is 2,411.2 feet, about 80% of what the requirement would be for that. And then similarly, for the attached style dwellings, they are in excess of the 35-foot height limitation. They comply with the number of stories, we believe, but it's just the overall height as measured on the facade that has the main entry, is basically how we measure that from the grade to the roof line. And so they're seeking relief of 10 feet in order to be able to provide a 45-foot tall structure. And that's for all the different building types they have. I believe there are 4 different typologies for that style of house, so 4 different variations of that, depending on where it is throughout the site, based on grading, location in the floodplain, and what have you. They're also seeking a special permit related to the parking, loading, landscaping requirements, specifically to have drive aisle widths that are not 24 feet as we require, but instead a variable width of 20 to 22 feet in locations that they are not 24 feet. So the kind of main corridor is 24 feet, but as you kind of get into the more peripheral, if you will, neighborhood network, those driveways reduce and are a mix of 20 and 22 feet respectively. So the applicant is seeking relief in those 3 respects. That's really what's in front of the board. The application will require site plan review, where the planning board reviews kind of means, methods of construction, understands phasing, sequencing, grading, looks at lighting, landscaping, and all of the other details. So what has been submitted to the board at this point is sort of this more conceptual plan that the board has up on the screen here. There's no photometric plan that was included. So some of those details have not been progressed as part of the process at this stage, but will be required to be progressed at a site plan review level, were the application to move forward from the Zoning Board of Appeals. Because of the location of the property, both in the floodplain as well as within proximity to Kettle Brook, there will also be a filing with the Conservation Commission. We call it a notice of intent application, but basically a permit with the Conservation Commission to make sure that the wetlands and the floodplain are protected throughout construction, and that the proposal doesn't have an adverse impact on the natural environment resulting from stormwater and the construction activities themselves. So just a little bit about other permits that are going to be needed. We also require, because of the number of residential buildings that are proposed and that they are proposed on one lot, that they obtain a more than one building on a lot permit from the planning board, which essentially is a review for compliance of the driveways and the site with the subdivision regulations that we have here in the city. So there'll be another opportunity for the planning board to review related to making sure that the driveway network is safe and satisfactory for all that it serves and that will be using it. And finally, the emergency interconnection that you heard about that is located planned north or top of the screen, which will interconnect with Hyatt Street. In that location, there'll be likely 2 different approvals that will be needed with the planning board, because a portion of a street is going to be opened and a portion of a street is going to be upgraded, and those are private streets. So the planning board has a role in reviewing the changes to that, unlike public streets where city council makes that decision. So the planning board will have that, and that's our best guess based on the information that's been provided. As the applicant's counsel indicated, there have been a number of concerns expressed by different departments. The applicant has been exceptionally responsive to trying to address those, but unfortunately time is just something we cannot create more of. So the applicant did provide a response to concerns that the fire department and emergency management had expressed. Originally, as you heard, there was one driveway proposed from Stafford Street, and the applicant proposed a secondary emergency access with a redundant driveway, I'll call it, also along Stafford Street, to which the fire department and emergency management still had concerns about that not meaningfully providing access and wanting to ensure, that all of these families are safe were there to be a flood. So the applicants revised the plans to provide this interconnection to the north. So in response to that, we still have additional comments. There are some conditions that have been included related to ensuring that that emergency interconnection ends up being adequately improved to the satisfaction of the fire department, as well as DPW and the Department of Transportation and Mobility, and then that will happen through the planning board process. But you don't have plans that show exactly what is proposed there either. So I'll just caveat again something that is to be developed or has yet to be developed at this stage in the process. And I'm calling it an emergency interconnection, but I will clarify that at this point, there's only a draft traffic study that the applicant submitted on Friday in response to the concerns that the Department of Transportation and Mobility raised. So they were able to review that in its draft form, but it's not essentially a complete traffic study that will be required for the site plan review with the planning board. But at this point, they have issued preliminary comments, which are included for the board members in your packet packet. They were just issued today, so I'm not sure if folks had a chance to look through them all, but those are included there. I don't believe we have included those as conditions. It's really more of like a narrative comment for the applicant and something that they're looking for as part of the site plan. Should you feel any of those are important to include, you could certainly do so, but that's not the way that the memo for planning anyways has been structured. So just, again, calling attention to that. And I, again, get back to the calling it emergency. It is possible that through the results of the traffic study and conversations with DTM that perhaps that isn't emergency. I don't know. I don't think that that is the intention or desire at this point, but it's hard to say because the traffic study is not fully complete. And obviously we haven't had a chance to completely weigh in that regard. So that's a little bit about the other permitting. Just again, recapping related to the specific relief and what the by right alternatives are, or alternatives without this board's permission that would just go to the planning board for site plan review. That would be building multifamily units at a much greater potential density, as was referenced, high rise, so something that is 4 stories or up to 8 stories. In fact, could be constructed by right at this location, and based on the area that's available, that is in the order of magnitude of about 2,100 potential units, because the lot area becomes the limiting factor for that density. There are a variety of other pieces as well. In terms of the relief on the driveways, they could easily accommodate a 24-foot drive aisle. That would result in more impervious surface and would likely start to encroach on some of the structures closer to some of the resource areas and the buffers that the city and the state have related to that, which, while not impossible in terms of the site design, would kind of infringe on those natural resource areas and make construction potentially more challenging as well. And the other alternative that I neglected to mention, so while there isn't enough frontage on Stafford Street, the applicant could lay out a subdivision, and in laying out a subdivision, you create the frontage that's needed. So the applicant could essentially create a new road and create the frontage through that process. We would look in a situation like that for an interconnection as well to an adjacent street like Hyatt Street, and there may be other challenges in designing a road that meets the city standards. So the applicant has chosen not to do that, and instead they're in front of you for this particular form of relief. And then again, with respect to the height requirements, the applicant could reduce the height for the proposed structures by 10 feet and comply with the zoning requirements. So just emphasizing some of the unique features of this, we're in the floodplain overlay district. You know, not every property is located in this area, so the property is located in the 1%, often referred to as 100-year, but I don't want you to get caught up on that because it doesn't necessarily happen every 100 years. 1% theoretical flood event, special flood hazard area. So basically in that theoretical event, portions of the site, you saw the kind of red, yellow, green map that was included in one of the graphics, shows kind of the intensity of flooding that would be on the site with the depth of flooding modeled based on the theoretical study that FEMA had conducted in this area, representing, you know, again, what that would look like. So the driveway does get eclipsed by the flooding in that location on Stafford Street. So the purpose of Hyatt being to provide an uninundated area to provide access to those units. There are, I believe, 3 of the buildings that are fully located within the floodplain, the townhouses that you see kind of horizontal to the bottom of the screen. Those units, and the team should correct me if I've got that wrong, but those are located in that area, a series of parking areas, including the main parking area and the driveway, like I mentioned, also being within the floodplain. So all of those will have to comply with building code requirements for construction in the floodplain, as well as the Conservation Commission requirements preventing any flooding from occurring and affecting neighboring properties. So if there's any fill, there has to be a commensurate cut. In terms of the layout itself, it's relatively suburban, as you can see, in terms of its orientation, citing some of that's being driven by the floodplain. Part of that's also just being driven by the design type and kind of the market that the applicant is seeking to fill. The applicant is providing 2.2 parking spaces per unit, so that's in excess of our high requirements for parking, which are 2 spaces typically. So there's excess parking than is required by the zoning ordinance. We have encouraged the applicant to, from the outside of their project, to work with WRTA to consider an extension of the bus line down to accommodate potential future users from the development, given the intensity of the development, to provide other convenient opportunities and help potentially reduce trip generation from the site in single occupant vehicle trips. So we have encouraged them to do that. So that's something that we've provided in our comments, not a requirement, just something that we're encouraging them to do, and making sure that as part of the traffic study that includes a transportation demand management plan, talking about how they will be trying to address the increases in trip generation from the project. We've also requested that they include both interior and exterior bike storage for maybe families with kids that want to have their scooters and scoot over and go swimming in the pool just within the project, or guests that might be coming to visit for convenience, or residents that live within the buildings and don't want to schlep their bike up to their unit. So some of those a bit more site planning, but related to specifically the density and trying to make sure that those accommodations are there. You'll see on the bottom right, there's a pale green area. This is noted as an amenity area. The specific programming, if you will, for the space has not been developed. There is currently a parking lot in that location, so we have requested that the applicant maintain at least a portion of that parking lot available for public parking, because the applicant is working with the Greater Worcester Land Trust on conservation of the area that's essentially not shown in green here. So really the river and everything to the west of it, and potentially some things to the east, to be determined at a later date. We do have a condition in the recommendations, which would include a requirement that prior to occupancy of their first unit, that they have to show us that that property has been perpetually preserved through conservation restriction, basically being subjected to the state's protections for open space, which is Article 97. So we have a condition in here to address that, to help with that, but we are looking for additional information about how kind of the public versus kind of private common space amenities and connection from the larger site to the amenity area would be provided without folks having to kind of make a trip in their vehicle to the amenity area, to try to minimize, again, some of those trip generation activities that might otherwise occur within the site, just because of the scale of the project. Let's see, anything else? Otherwise, we are still in the process of, obviously it's a large scale project, so we're still in the process of reviewing all of the details of what's been provided. So really the review that we've done at this point is related just to the relief that the board's seeking. A lot of times our review is a bit more comprehensive in nature, just given some of the time limitations and the progression of the different plans. We haven't fully had the opportunity to do that. So you do see in our recommendation a note related to continuance. Ultimately, it's at the discretion of the board as to, if you're comfortable with the information that's been provided. While the changes from the plans last week were relatively minimal, there are changes not just to the emergency access, but also to the main driveway. Again, some of these things that staff are still in the process of reviewing. But again, the Department of Transportation and Mobility didn't feel necessarily strongly one way or the other related to having that prior to the ZBA considering this. In terms of where we are in the city, we are over by Cherry Valley in the good old town of Leicester here on the left, and we have this area indicated as a kind of background or baseline growth area in the city, although it's near walking distance to transit along Stafford Street. And I think I hit all of the other approvals that will be needed. So with that, I just want to call out some conditions that we have discussed modifications to with the applicant. So specifically on page 7 of your memo, the applicant is looking to adjust 1D where it says, reflect the use of brick throughout the first story of the front and left elevations of building 1. So this is the multifamily building. They'd like to change front and left to south and west. We have no problem with that. And then related to the condition number 4, the second sentence indicates mitigation measures shall. They would like to change shall to may. Those are just examples, and I will call attention that these conditions 3, 4, and 5 were provided specifically by the Department of Emergency Management in response to the unique consideration that the property is located in the floodplain. So these are intended to make sure all occupants remain safe in the event of a flood, so including information about how to subscribe to Alert Worcester, emergency contacts, evacuation routes, things like that, that might uniquely affect the property as compared to a traditional development that the board's used to seeing. So mitigation around sort of warning signage areas that would be flooded so that folks visually have a way to identify, that if there's flooding, there's signs that are saying it's, don't go through. Turn around, don't drown, as we say. And then they are looking to strike condition 5 from our perspective. This is something that can be worked out through the provisions with the floodplain overlay district in our zoning code and through the site plan process. So we're amenable to that, just something that was specific to showing flood depth markers in areas that are subject to inundation. And then finally, on condition 7, they're looking to strike the language that refers to in compensatory storage facilities, floodplains, which we have no problem eliminating. We'll deal with this at the site plan level. The applicant already requested the 2 waivers, and with that, I'm happy to answer any questions the board members have. Thank you.
Okay. So just to clarify, you're requesting the waivers?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, and I want to make sure that I heard that correctly, that the by right, if they did multifamily units, keeping in mind that there are other things that might come into play with the planning division and other pieces, but essentially they could do 2,100 units through the multifamilies, and they're proposing 209. Correct. Okay. And with that, I'm sure there's extensive public comment. So I will ask that people state their name and city of town of residence and just address all comments to me directly. Okay, please come forward.
And I'll just note too that we do have written public comment as well that came in today.
Yeah. Yes, for board members, I should say that before we get to this. For board members, there is written comment in our packets. And for voting on this one, although obviously we always encourage conversation, board member Barton Hagan will be the alternate in this one. Okay. State your name, city, town of residence, please.
Fred Nathan Worcester. First of all, I have no horse in this game, but as a Worcester resident, a lifetime, Mr. Chair, I just want to make a couple of points here. Worcester Academy has owned this property for 16 years. I think they're actually, as the developers, they're actually getting a pretty good deal, paying $4.5 million for 36.7 acres of basically open land. My question would be is, can we assume, no, it doesn't really pertain here, but just curious. All these years it's probably been tax exempt, which will now become taxable property now. And let's face it, Worcester needs housing. Oh, by the way, they need more housing. So however they go about it, however we find the land to build, there's going to be more housing built. These are things that are inevitable. The only thing that I don't know if they can do it, but it would be a very nice gesture of these developers if they can put some sort of tract of land on there that still have a very small play field for, the people that might be living there. They might have kids, they might have grandkids, they might, I don't know if it's possible, but it would be nice. That's it.
Okay, thank you so much. I guess I can answer the one, and then I'll let the applicant answer the other. I think my understanding is that's correct, that it was not taxable, and this would turn this into taxable property. I know that there are plans, there's requirements for there to be publicly, for residents to have access to area to play or to have recreation, and so there's a requirement that this will be meeting. So if the applicant could just speak a little bit to that. As knowing that the plans are not finalized at this point for the zoning, but in compliance with that.
Yeah, so certainly. So we haven't programmed the amenity space yet, but certainly there's going to be some type of recreational active space there. And as I referenced in my earlier remarks, the intention is to ensure that ongoing connection with the Greater Worcester Land Trust recreational trails. So whether or not there's going to be soccer fields, probably not, but there still will be opportunities for folks in the community to enjoy recreation in this particular area. As in the staff recommended conditions of approval, there'll be a trailhead, some type of parking. There's going to be some ongoing efforts to ensure those areas are maintained. So, and I would also note that it's my understanding that the fields currently aren't open to the public. When I went there, they seem to be locked up. So to the extent that people are playing on these fields, I don't know if that's actually the case or lawful. So I would just point that out as well.
Okay, go ahead. Next person like to come up. Just state your name and city of town of residence, please.
My name is Greg Puto. I'm from 2 Merrick Street in Cherry Valley. I live about 500 feet from the edge of the border, and I appreciate you allowing us to comment. And although I've submitted written comments, I think you have a button to release me to the downstairs floor if I go through the 6 pages of written comments. So I'll try to give you the Cliff's Notes version as fast as I can, and I'm asking my wife to assist me. I have a personal problem. I have a hard hearing time. I would appreciate the developer if he could show one of the first pictures that shows the roads. Could you do that? I mean,
He doesn't have control, so it's actually the city staff controls it. So you'll have to ask, yeah. So you're looking for the roads.
The street, Stafford Street, and
Yep.
whatever, and I'll walk over there.
You have to use the microphone.
It's got to take the microphone.
Thought I could be loud enough. My wife says I'm loud enough at home, so I figured that.
You got to pick it up for the city's, for the standard. Is this the one you're looking for?
Huh?
Is this the one you're looking for?
Yeah, okay. So, and I'll try not to have my back to you, okay? But in terms of the entrance, right here is...
The entrance is a little bit higher. It's a little bit higher.
Huh?
So that's the Kettlebrook stream.
Oh, the brook. Oh, the entrance here.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. From there, there's Ludlow Street. But even before Ludlow Street, there shows a count right there of around, it's in your packet, around 6,100 cars per day. This is from Mass DOT's Whiteside 2025. Further up, there's the intersection of Ludlow Street. That shows a count of around 9,300 cars. And lastly, which is not shown, if it was a different, further up, the intersection of Stafford Street and James Street. It shows 12,300. And it's important to recognize the area because it's very congested. It's very congested as such. And those traffic counts, to give you a feel, is up on the further end on the other artery as such, a count around Route 9 is 15,200. So when I'm talking about 12,200, that's a lot of cars in very simple language, okay? So before you come down to the opening, on the west side, you're coming down an incline about 10% slope, average, that has a name, Dead Horse Hill. And I'll let you use your logic so that the dead horse was the horses died going up the hill. So there is currently a very strong problem with just traffic. It's a nightmare to get out there during peak travel hours, particularly in the morning, and that becomes aggravated when there's inclement weather like winter, whatever. The other thing I wanted to reveal to you, up here at the intersection of Stafford Street and James Street, they had crash data on the police website, and it showed 30 crashes in 5 years. It also said that travelway has a 67% increased crash rate over other secondary roads in the Commonwealth. I don't have, and I have a request in to get the crash rate of Ludlow and Stafford Street. But my wife and I, and maybe other people here, have seen many a crash. They're not a fender bender. The reason I bring this up is if you, my comments were structured along what the developer submitted, and what he said was that there was minimal impact. They will not result in significant increases in traffic volumes or traffic delays. I respectfully, very strongly disagree with that because there's already an existing problem. You can go out there and it's backed up. In wintertime, it gets real treacherous because that dead horse hill, if you ever sat in a car on a hill with ice or snow, it's a hazardous condition. So, as submitted, I disagree with that. I said Mr. Chairman, I promised I'd give you the Cliff Notes version. I'm going to go to the last page, one of the other comments I had, and it has to do with, it has to do with hardship. That respect to the relief may be granted without detriment to the public good. I say the existing problem with traffic will be only exacerbated by this project, and that use of the road by me or you or anybody is a public good. So it becomes a balancing of, hey, we have something, a road which we all be used, and yes, there's a need for housing. I don't disagree with that. But this would exacerbate the situation. The other point in the developer's presentation, he refers to the Salisbury Green project way up on Salisbury Road as, hey, you gave relief for frontage requirements. Yeah, that's agreed, but I don't know if you've ever been there, is the traffic isn't that bad. In fact, if you look at the traffic count there, it's around 3,800. I left that in the package. And the point I'm trying to make is it's 12,000 down there, or 12,000 or plus down near there. It's order of magnitudes low as such. So it's an incomplete analysis. It doesn't tell you what the city may have granted, and if you ever go up Salisbury Street near the end, yeah, no, if you had a 5% increase, it wouldn't be that bad. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your patience and your understanding my limitation, and I thank you for not dropping me through the door.
Thank you very much. And we did, just for the board, we did get your comments, your full 6 pages of comments, although it wasn't 6 pages full of just yours. You were commenting on other folks. So thank you very much. Other public comment? You absolutely can. Just state your name and city of town of residence, please.
Okay. Beatrice Buto. I live in Cherry Valley. And the gentleman and her talked a little too fast for me, and I'm a little bit confused about the 2 access points for emergency or something or other, I think you said. And one of them that was mentioned was Hyatt Street. Is that still proposed Hyatt Street as one of the entrances, exits?
Yes, so I can answer real quickly. So the fire department requested of the developer, they had 2 access points on Stafford Street for this property, and they requested that one of them be above the floodplain, which would be, so they requested that it go to Hyatt Street. The details of that, they are still working out, so we don't have those full details. That would be something, should this progress to the planning board, that they would work out with the city, but that was a relatively recent request of the fire department to change the emergency access.
Had I known about that, I would have brought photographs of Hyatt Street. It's quite impossible for me to imagine emergency trucks trying to enter or access there, and Hyatt Street's relation to Route 9 and the traffic that Route 9 absorbs for the airport is unbelievable.
Yeah, so the proposal would be that there would have to be some updates to Hyatt Street to facilitate that. And again, because there was a relatively recent development from the city to the developer, those details about how they would upgrade Hyatt to accommodate that would be something that they would still have to work out. Thank you. Yes. Other public comment, please. Okay. Online. Please you can use your raise your hand function by use the raise your hand feature or pressing *9. Okay. I really appreciate the I want to say thank you. I thought your letter was very good and thoughtful, and similar, some of the comments I will note are some of the things that DTM is also working to. So the things that you pointed out for the traffic are some things that the Department of Transportation and Mobility have questions about that they're asking to go through when they go through the planning part of the process. So the other boards that would see this, should this move forward, are the Conservation Commission, which would look at how this would be affecting the water flow for the brook. And the other would be the Planning Division, which looks at a lot of the questions about how will this look, how will this be put together, how will this actually be built, like what's the sequencing. Additionally, they will look at more detail about the traffic study, about the driveway aisles, about the emergency exit, what that would look like for Hyatt Street. So some of the questions about the actual, like how this fits into the city, are the questions of Planning Division. Generally, we do cover them a little, but they are also very much a part of the planning. And so should this move forward, the planning would also look at those questions that you have to answer some of them. So just going to board comment for us, the other thing that I want the board to consider that I think is important that the applicant made is that because the focus of the housing that's being built is to be rentals, that's the reason for the frontage. So if they were to build a subdivision, which this site could for sure contain, that request for a variance would go away, which means if they were to make them sort of for like higher profit subdivisions to buy, they wouldn't need the frontage. The frontage is coming because they're focusing on making this rentals, and the height is in response in some of the occasions to the floodplain and the desire to build up from the floodplain. So to be in congruence with the fact that it may flood at some point, and if it does, there would be some protection for the homeowners by being higher up, and so therefore they're hitting the height requirement. Speaking for myself, I think we're always trying to tackle the question of there's no question that if something gets built here, there will be more cars. There will be more cars, that'll cause more traffic. And so we're always trying to balance those things, but I think the need for more housing, especially in a place where there is there should be housing here. Like, we should be putting housing, and there is just so much space here, and there's such a need for housing that some sort of housing should go here. And so then the question is, for me, is not should there be housing, because housing will cause cars will cause traffic. So the question isn't, is traffic going to increase? Some form of traffic is going to increase if we are ever going to get the housing we need. So I think we need housing, and I think that means that we're going to have more traffic. So then the question is, are they doing it in a responsible way? And from my perspective, and other board members get to have a say, they could be trying to, a lot of developers come in and they try to get as many units as possible and sort of just try to do whatever they can. And they're actually doing about 1/10 of the possible units. So not only are they not maximizing it, there's just a far fewer housing requests than is possible. So because of the sort of like because of the sort of that we need housing, I think some housing will go here, and there's a need for something. This is a relatively small request actually for us, considering how big this project is. This is actually, I actually thought when I heard that there was going to be something, I actually thought there'd be more requests for variances, and there's actually very few considering. So from my perspective, I think this project is a good project to move forward. It generally will get my vote. I'm curious, as well as other board members' thoughts on this project, I'm curious what board members think about the sort of, DTM does have some good questions about sort of the need, like figuring out, like, does the flow of traffic, they have some questions about that. We have 2 more units that weren't proposed. I'm a little bit more comfortable for that since it's internal to a building that we're roughly not really seeing. So it's not like you've added new buildings per se, you've just changed the inside of a building, which isn't particularly in this case the thing that's most pressing before us.
Sure.
So I feel more comfortable moving forward knowing that. But I think the other board members, I'm curious your thoughts about moving forward based on those things. So I'm prepared in this moment to move it forward to the other boards for oversight. I think that there are some really good questions. Like, I think the question about the city does need to figure out what to do about Stafford Street. Stafford Street has a lot of traffic. It is not that safe at the moment. The flow onto Ludlow and the flow onto those things, those are real questions that I also have that the city needs to address. And the other thing that happens with a lot of these projects is that developers get pinged for the problems that the city has. So the city has the city needs to figure out how to manage traffic on Stafford Street, and we need housing. That feels like something the city should do to step in to make sure that this is safer, because I agree with the comments and the very thoughtful letter we got. What's currently ongoing on Ludlow Street and Stafford need something to mitigate what's happening. I'm not sure, I'm not in a position where I feel like that's my purview as a zoning board member. It's certainly my purview as a member of Worcester who can call my city councilor, but I don't feel like that's my purview as a zoning board member. So that's my perspective on it. We'll go around the board to get other people's thoughts, and thanks everyone. Okay, so let's start with in the room, and then we'll go to the online folks. So online folks, prepare yourselves to be unmuted, and we'll start with board member Bart Hagan.
Through the chair, yeah, I share a lot of almost everything you just said. I think I agree with. I have some serious concerns, and so the way this application has been presented to us, I have to balance. Normally, I would like to have the answers to these, even if they're technically a little bit beyond our purview. I'm a little uncomfortable just kind of punting. It feels like a punt, not being able to see a lot of the things that I would want to see before I approve something. I would want to see how they're going to ameliorate the traffic situation on Stafford Street, which is difficult. When you're there, and I was pulling in, I guess got to the same gate you did, turn around, and then you're trying to leave, and it wasn't easy. The cars go fast down that street, and there's a dip, and it goes back up, and you're right next to Ludlow Street, which is another major street. So if there's no lighting at the intersection of Stafford and Ludlow, which there isn't right now, you have a problem accessing the road. But if you have a light there, I saw in the DTM report, well, that would cause traffic backup, and then you would have a different problem of trying to get onto Stafford Street. I'm very concerned about Hyatt. I actually drove up Hyatt, and it needs a lot of improvement if that's going to be a secondary emergency access for big trucks. And I know the promise is, oh, we'll figure all that out at the planning board, and that will have to happen. But I'm not going to be able to see that before I approve it. So I hear what the chair is saying, and these things do need to be addressed, and I am comforted somewhat by the fact that the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission will be addressing these things. The access to the area for recreation. You're right, there's no direct access, at least on this plan, because it's preliminary, between that area over the brook to the development. And so right now, it seems like in order to access that area, you'd have to get in your car, drive out and onto Stafford Street and access it. I'm sure that's not going to be the way it's going to be, but it's right now, that's all we've got. So, on the other hand, I agree with everything else you said about how this is a much less dense development than it could otherwise have been. I don't want to hold this up because I think it's a very good development. I think the pros and cons between the housing, as you say, any housing at all will cause an increase in traffic. The developer isn't responsible for the bottleneck and the speed that's happening right now on Stafford Street. It's something that they're going to have to address with the city further down the line. But I like this development. I think it's definitely a lot lower density than could be put there. We need housing, and housing causes more cars. There's just no way around it. So I think I'm leaning towards moving it forward to the next stage with the understanding that, the planning board is going to take a close look at this. I guess that's where I stand. And I'm okay, by the way, all of if we do get to the point where we're approving this with these staff recommendations, I'm fine with all of the proposed changes that Ms. Smith went through.
Oh, I just wanted to note for the board some of the comments. There is currently a pedestrian bridge that connects the field to that amenity space. It has to be evaluated for accessibility purposes, but all of that will be designed and engineered as part of the final plan set. So it kind of gets back to my earlier point, which is VHB is ready to go to fully design, Hyatt Street, what's the width going to be, what brush needs to be removed. But it's kind of, we're at the stage right now where is the relief going to be granted, and then we can move forward with the more comprehensive review.
Well, I mean, a lot of work is going to have to be done on Hyatt Street.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Board Member Remy.
Well, this is a great proposal, and from my perspective, I think it is well integrated within the site. And I understand all the traffic concerns, and I'm hoping that will be addressed later with the city. And as far as the Hyatt Street connection, I'm not sure if there could be another connection to like the shape of the Hyatt Street area, but I know that's necessary because my initial concern was, are there going to be two means of egress for this very large site? So with that being said, I know there is some factors that are being changed. I do support this project. I like the overall design, and I think it is very well integrated. So that's what I think so far, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Cortez.
Through the chair. I echo most of the comments made by you, Mr. Chair, and when my colleague on the side also there, all the comments, I agree with that. And I understand that there's some particular parts that they need to be addressed by the zoning board. So there's not much I could, oppose or comment on it, since they're going to be addressed by other sources. one question, regarding traffic. Regarding traffic, yes, I'm not sure if members of, the developers, can seek help. And when you're talking about the city council for that particular district should be aware, and I'm sure it is aware of what's going on in here and what the traffic situation may be affected by. And so the city councilor from that particular district could be a help to bring it up with the traffic department, similar to what happened on Mill Street in Worcester. City council had to be involved and talk about the resolving traffic issues there. So I'm just mentioning, when you talk about the city, it may not be only the traffic department, but the city councilor from that district can be approached by the people or by the project proposals here. Now, in regards, I had a question. Are those most of this apartment one and two bedrooms?
So through the chair, it varies by the building type. The multifamily buildings will be 1 to 2 bedrooms. The townhouses will be 2 to 3 bedrooms.
Okay.
And in accordance with applicable code, in case Mr. Cortez would like to know, 5% of the units will be accessible. So approximately 11 accessible units will be added.
Great. Those I like to hear those both answers, and I was waiting for the 3-bedroom spot, which we're building a lot of 1 and 2 bedrooms on most of the projects, and I don't know where families with at least 2 children would be living. So I'm glad to hear it's going to be some 3 bedrooms there too. So that's another positive. Another question I had, or one of the questions was the recreational area, which is being sort of answered that yes, it's going to be some recreational areas. I was looking at the where is the recreational area may be located, accessible with to the to the buildings. I believe, and it's not that I'm mandate or request what type of facilities can be there. I just put as an example, some area there can be a kiosk where families can gather and celebrate birthdays around the kiosk and so forth. Another idea is like the Green Hill Park, sort of it's a recreational house or patio cover. If you're familiar with Green Hill Park, there is a house there where people get together for celebrate birthdays and so forth. So some of the couple ideas I like to mention, and where can that be located? I don't know, but I'm sure that can be worked out, since there are several issues or points that still need to work with the staff. So I hope that they work out some sort of a good recreational area for the residents there. Now, I'm in agreement to go along with the request made by the developer regarding on questions 4, 5, and 7. I have no problem with those requests made by the developer. The affordability. Those are rentals. So is there, are we providing some affordability, number of units affordable?
So through the chair, the proponent is going to be doing the fee in lieu. So no affordable units are proposed as part of the project, but 3% of all of the construction costs will be paid into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which will allow for the creation of additional affordable units in the city.
Hopefully. We're looking at, because again, and I said that again and again, housing, yes, we need housing, but it just, and there is shortage of housing. And again, I said again, there's no shortage of housing in Worcester. The shortage is the affordable housing. That's what the shortage is. So hopefully they can be worked out along the line. And this is pretty much my comments. Hopefully some of them been have some attention to it. That's it, through the chair.
Thank you. I want to highlight one of Board Member Cortez's questions, which it looks like there's a pool being proposed, and is there like a kiosk or some sort of area around it? Because it looks like there's a building next to it as well. Do you guys, I mean, if you don't have plans for that yet, I guess that's not technically our purview. But.
Yeah, I think it's like a guest house. Maybe Evan Miller from VHB could comment on that.
Evan Miller, VHB. Our office is on Front Street, right over here. Yeah, the intent is to have a pool area for active recreation, as well as a pool house, clubhouse for any other assorted activities that go along with that.
So possibly something.
Yeah, and then the first floor of that area will have active area for residents within the space as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Board Member Torcono.
Well, enough has been said about this project by you, the chair, and my other board members, and I have nothing more to say. You've discussed all the issues concerning the traffic that it won't pose, but at the same time, we still need housing. I don't think we have enough housing in that place. My concern is Lord Street, and that's up to the city. So, but I'm for the project, and I don't have any negative comments, and I don't have anything to say bad against it. I would like to move it forward, and I will vote for it.
Okay, thank you very much. Board Member Sacco.
Through the chair, I agree with Board Member Torcono where there's not much new comments I can really add here. Everything through the board has been pretty well said so far, and I am fully on board to move it forward. I don't think I'm voting, but I would move forward if I was. Thanks.
Okay.
Through the chair, just.
Yeah, please.
Can I ask the city staff, earlier on in the presentation, you mentioned that if we were going to move this forward, we should perhaps consider incorporating some comments we'd received from DTM, or do you have a suggestion as to what that might be, or is it already covered by what's in the recommendations already, or?
Yeah, through the chair. So none of the comments are really, you'll note the comment letter, which is dated today's date, August 10th, is really more of a narrative than it is a condition list, which you're kind of typically used to seeing. So really, this is more just specifying for the applicant some of the minimum requirements that they're going to anticipate, which are standards for the traffic study, just call attention to specific issues. So I don't feel that you need to include that. Ultimately, your discretion, if you wanted to, you certainly could. I can propose something if that's the direction you'd like to go.
Well, it sounds like the planning board is going to be dealing with that.
That's correct.
Okay, so I don't think, in my view at least, we don't need to do that.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
One last question.
No, please, you could keep asking. Yes, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to confirm for that previous northern secondary access, is that entirely removed from the scope due to doing it on the north side over here? So I'm looking, at a previous site plan where we had the emergency secondary access on top of the.
That's removed.
Removed entirely. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
That's all.
Okay. Any last questions? Okay, great. Okay.
Sorry, through the chair, I did have a hand raised. I just saw it when I turned over.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Brittany, if you wanted to speak, could you raise your hand one more time?
I think is it Brittany Gesner?
Oh, maybe.
I think we're good then.
Okay.
Yeah, she's part of the team.
Okay. In that case, I will take a motion to close.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to close on 232 Stafford Street.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
On the motion to close, Board Member Cortez?
Yes.
Board Member Moremi?
Yes.
Board Member Torcono?
Yes.
Board Member Barnhagen?
Yes.
My vote's yes. Is there a motion on 232 Stafford Street?
I'd like to make a motion for 232 Stafford Street for a variance, approval of a variance for relief of 2,411.2 feet from the 3,000-foot minimum frontage requirements for a single-family attached dwelling in an RG5 zone, for approval of a variance for relief of 10 feet from the 35-foot maximum height requirements for a single-family attached dwelling in an RG5 zone, and for approval of a special permit to modify the parking dimensional layout and/or landscaping requirements, loading requirements, and/or the number of required parking spaces, subject to the conditions of approval set out in the staff memo on pages 7 to 8, with the amendments to 1D for the removal of 5 and the amendment to 7, and the waivers as requested by the applicant.
Is there a second?
Second.
On the motion, Board Member Cortez?
Yes.
Board Member Moremi?
Yes.
Board Member Torcono?
Yes.
Board Member Barnhagen?
Yes.
And my vote's yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So to Mr. Buteau, I want to say that you have a really thoughtful letter here, that a lot of the questions that you have still need to be answered by the planning board and a traffic study. So please get the contact info for the planning division, because I want to say that like we can't answer your questions, but they should get answered. And I just wanted to thank you for your thoughtfulness. Does that make sense? So please just get the card for the planning division. Yeah.
Get information from them on how to contact more.
Okay, thank you. Next up is 79 Pullman Street. Yeah, of course. We actually need, you gotta stay here for a second. We gotta make a motion for
a 5-minute break.
For a 5-minute break. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right, we'll be back at 7:56. Hello. Great. The folks online, we just need to confirm you're back. Board Member Cortez?
I'm here. A second.
Board Member Turcono or Board Member Cortez?
I'm here.
All right. Board Member Cortez? Yep. Board Member Cortez? He's not back yet. What? It's been 6 minutes. Yeah. We could technically start, but then he's not voting, so that's why we want to give him a chance. Board Member Cortez?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Next up is 79 Pullman Street. If the applicant could please come forward, state your name and city of town of residence.
Good evening. My name is Patrick Doherty. I'm a professional engineer with Midpoint Engineering and Consulting. Office address is 37 Sutton Road in Webster, Massachusetts.
Great. Tell us about the project.
Sure. So I'm here presenting 79 Pullman Street for Charter Foods, who is the applicant. Charter Foods proposes to construct a Taco Bell on the property. The existing site is 0.68 acres. Prior use of the site was the Sylvan Learning Center. It had a 2,400 square foot building on it and 26 parking lots and a driveway on Pullman Street. That building's been raised. Parking lot remains. The site has frontage on 3 streets, Pullman Street, West Mountain Street, and Brook Street. The applicant proposes to remove all the remainder of the site improvements and construct a new Taco Bell restaurant with drive-through. That store would be 2250 square feet. They have a drive-through, single drive-through lane and an escape lane. That requirement for drive-through and escape lanes in the city are 240 feet. So we'd be looking for a special permit to modify the dimensional requirements. Also, drive-through with food service with drive-through is a special permit use. Some of you may recall me being here a couple of years ago, and we had proposed a similar site plan. That tenant was going to be at Chipotle. Building's about the same size, parking lot's about the same size. The difference is that Chipotle is a pickup-only drive lane, where this would be a full-service traditional drive-through. We've modified the site from that approved plan slightly. We've moved the drive-through lanes to the far east side of the site. It allowed us to get a little additional length for the queue, and also separate the parking so that there was no conflict with the escape lane. Along with the building here, we'd be proposing we originally proposed a 29 space parking lot, which was similar to the Chipotle. As you'll hear during staff comments, there's a request to redesignated what we had considered the front yard. In the zoning code, when you have frontage along more than one street, one side becomes the front yard and the other 2 become side yards. So in doing so, 2 of parking spaces would be in the front yard. And we've conferred with the client, and they say that they can operate effectively with the 27 parking spaces. We've provided a traffic report that addresses the queue. That traffic report was done using ITE-generated trip rates. And what we found is the general consensus for fast food with drive-through generates a little bit more traffic than a traditional Taco Bell. We've provided in the traffic report sales data for another Taco Bell restaurant in Worcester that's operated by the same by the applicant. And it basically says that Taco Bell is about roughly 70 or 80% of what the IETE trip generation would generate. They also provided some data on the types of transactions. Since COVID and with modern technology, these fast food operators operate a little bit differently. They're projecting about 30% of the traffic coming to the Taco Bell would be going through the drive-through lane. About 60% would be done via mobile apps, and most of that 60% is picked up by a DoorDash driver or some other delivery service. Only about 10% of the transactions are for people who come into the restaurant and sit down and eat their meal. So with that, the queue that is required by the city is more than is going to be needed here. We project about 5 to 7 spaces, or 5 to 7 vehicles would be in queue, and that's what they experience with their other restaurants in the area. 5 to 7 vehicles translates to about 140 feet of queue length, where we're proposing 214 feet. We did receive the staff memo today and had a chance to discuss the recommendations. Our feeling is that most of the recommendations that are provided by staff we could accommodate. There are 3 items that we'd like to discuss with the board. One of those comments was the provision to, it's actually recommendation 1A, which is a recommendation to provide 6 additional shade trees along the southerly property line. So that would be the true side lot line between our property and an adjacent commercial property. We don't feel it's appropriate there. The distance from our property line to that building is about 9 feet. They've got mechanical equipment on the side of the building. It's not a zoning requirement per se, and we feel, I think we're providing 15 new trees on this roughly 0.6 of an acre, and feel that we should not be required to do that. Secondly, staff has recommended providing 25% compact car spacing. Again, in this case, with only having the required amount of parking that zoning notes, we'd rather have standard size spaces. With the high turnover parking lots, people coming in and out, opening up doors, the additional room from a standard space we feel is necessary. Third comment is just a comment to reflect that the rooftop units would be screened. While we don't have a problem with that, we did submit architectural elevation plans. The building will have a 4-foot minimum parapet along the entire perimeter, and then there's some tower sections that extend up higher. You can see the elevation plans here. The 2 gray areas that you can see popping up a little bit higher than the parapet, that's showing what you would see of the rooftop unit if you were at roof level. The building wall is about 18 feet high. The rooftop units are centered in about the middle of the roof area, and with that 4-foot parapet, in most vantage points, you won't see them. I'm sure that there's maybe a spot on Brook Street or somewhere where you may see the top portion of the rooftop unit, but we feel that it's adequately screened, and we would hope that the commission would agree with us. That's kind of in essence on the site plan. If there's any questions from the board.
Do you request the waivers as stated on page 4 of 8?
Yeah, so staff actually also put together a list of waivers. The owner's names of abutting properties we'd request to be waived from the plan, the distances to all the adjacent buildings, and the percentage of the lot covered by principal and accessory buildings. I believe that we did have that, but I'd have to check the site plan in the existing and proposed topography.
Great. City staff.
Through the chair, this proposal at 79 Pullman Street, as stated, the presently on premise is a partially paved vacant lot, and the applicant is seeking to remove all existing improvements and construct a 2,250 square foot food service use with a drive-through, 29 parking spaces, now we'll get to amended 27 parking spaces, and other assorted site improvements. And we're here because they are requiring, sorry, back up the truck. This is a split-zoned lot between the ML's 0.5 and the MG 0.5 zoning districts. And so we're here because the applicant requires two special permits. One, to allow the food service use with the drive-through in the ML 0.5. And also a special permit to modify the parking and dimensional requirements, layout and/or landscaping requirements for the drive-through lane and escape lane length as required by the ordinance to be 240 feet. And so for staff comments, there was a question about the length of the drive-through lane and the escape lane, and the applicant is going to clearly mark the plans and submit plans that have those clearly demarked so that we can make sure that we indicate the exact length of the lanes, which the applicant has said is, for the drive-through lane, is 214 feet, and for the escape lane actually does comply at 242 feet. The applicant indicated that the hours of operation will be 9 a.m. to 4 a.m. 7 days a week, and will employ 20 to 30 employees working 4 to 8 hours per shift. The restaurant will serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And because they're not opening until 9 a.m., feel that the least amount of traffic will be during the morning breakfast time. And the anticipated peak traffic times are lunch and then evening time. One of our questions was confirming that the queues proposed for the end user were like during peak service at similar locations. The traffic study does indicate that the queue can hold 9 cars, I believe. I think that's correct. So the project requires 27 parking spaces, and the applicant has proposed 29, 2 of which would be ADA and 6 of which will be EV ready. So the applicant's surplus of 2 spaces, again, it was confirmed with inspectional services that Pullman Street would be the front of the, would be considered the frontage for the building. And so therefore these 2 first spaces would be considered in the front yard, so they should be removed. And so, as stated, the applicant has agreed to do so. And then, trees are required every 25 feet on center along the perimeter, and the applicant has provided a landscape plan which does show trees around the perimeter. It does seem that one tree is missing from the entry area. The traffic study does indicate that it is recommended that the tree not be planted there for sightline reasons, and so that would be an additional piece of relief under the parking, loading, landscaping special permit to seek relief for not meeting that requirement. So we can add that to the special permit if the applicant wants to confirm that piece. We also are looking to understand, again, the applicant and I have had conversations, so I know the answers, but they're not in the materials. So we're looking for the applicant to clarify what materials are proposed for the island that's separating the drive-through and the northern parking lot. Staff would ideally like to see a landscaped island separating the drive-through aisle from the parking area, to extend the idea that cars would cut across from the entrance into the parking area. Also, because of the size of the parking lot, staff is recommending providing 25% compact spaces, which the applicant has explained is not amenable. So staff, that was our, request because of the size of the parking lot. So if that's stricken, that is fine with us. And again, the shade trees along the southern property line was to shade some of the parking lot because this is, again, a large parking lot. Again, as stated, it is not a zoning requirement, so that is completely up to the board whether or not you keep or strike that condition. And the only other thing that we're looking for is that we're looking for the applicant to confirm the gate materials using for the proposed dumpster enclosure. DTM is requesting a queuing analysis from the traffic report. The applicant and I did have a conversation about that request. So this item does also have to go to the planning board for a parking plan. So that could also be something that is discussed at that time if this board decides that they don't see a need or want to strike that condition for this. This will be reviewed again. And the rooftop equipment, I leave that to the board. And then I can answer any other questions. Oh, this property is in the transformative growth area in the citywide long-range plan and encourages significant reinvestment in physical transformation in areas with unmet potential for high walkability and transit access. So I can answer any questions if needed.
So I guess I have a question to city staff. So 3A, it sounds like that if they provide it in between now and they don't need to provide it they would just need to provide it before the planning board. Is that correct, to be satisfied?
Yeah, it's just to review, just so DTM can review.
Okay. Okay. Well, there's no one here, I believe, for this. Is anybody online for 79 Pullman Street? I'm going to guess no. I'm happy to move this forward. I think this is pretty straightforward. I am okay cutting 1A. I'm okay cutting 1H. I'm okay cutting 1I. For 3A, which is the parking thing, so you verbally told us, if you just write it down, I think that suffices. So
Okay.
I don't know if that sounds okay to you.
Sure.
Okay, yep, because you verbally gave it to us. So those are all the things. So I think those are all the conditions. So I'm happy to move this forward. Board member, we'll go in person here and then we'll go online. So online folks, and voting is Board member Sacco. Board member Barhagen.
Through the chair. I'm fine moving this forward too. I think it's pretty straightforward, and I'm fine with moving A and H. I just have a question about I, because I don't see, I seems more like suggestive than mandatory. It just, maybe the first sentence, because the second sentence or the second and third sentence, it just says, any rooftop equipment that may be visible shall be set back and screened to minimize the appearance. Provided plan detail for the screening material. So, but you want to just get rid of I altogether, is that right?
I mean, that would just be clearer. I think that, if planning, I would imagine that planning would agree that the screening that's provided with the parapet would be suffice. The architectural plans didn't show the rooftop height is probably why there was some confusion.
Okay, all right. I'm fine with I being removed as well. Okay, thank you.
Board member Rami?
No comments.
Board member Cortez?
Through the chair, I'm pretty much in general in favor of the approval of this project. And besides, my leaning to approval, I'm fine with the three parts that the project wants to striked out, 1A, the one regarding the 27 compact cars, and the rooftop. So I'm in favor of going along with the request by the project personnel. Regarding the drive-through, my understanding is that it'll be open from 9 to 4 a.m. And my question is that operational or open those hours also for inside services or only the drive-through?
I'm not sure what time it cuts off, but the overnight hours are drive-through only. Yeah, I don't know if it's at 11 o'clock or midnight or 1, but.
So the inside services, what are the hours again?
It's 9 to 4 a.m. The applicant wasn't sure when they turn over to no longer accepting inside, but they do close the inside at night.
So that is open, depending on a number of clientele. Is not something that has been regulated here.
We don't regulate it, no.
No, I mean the inside, the hours of services inside. So.
Yeah, we don't regulate that.
Okay, so that was just a question, just to make sure that, if the difference between the inside services and outside. So basically, the 9 to 4 applies to both of them. No further questions. I'm in favor of moving forward with this project. Good luck to all.
Okay, Board Member Torcono?
I have no comment.
Board Member Sacco?
No additional comment. Thank you.
All right, I'll take a motion to close.
I'd like to make a motion to close on 79 Pullman Street.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I do second it.
On the motion to close, Board Member Cortez?
Yes.
Board Member Moremi?
Yes.
Board Member Torcono?
Yes.
Board Member Sacco?
Yes.
My vote's yes. Is there a motion on 79 Pullman Street?
I'd like to make a motion for 79 Pullman Street for approval of a special permit to allow food service drive-through use in an ML 0.5 and MG 0.5 zone, and for approval of a special permit to modify the parking dimensional layout and/or landscaping requirements, loading requirements, and/or the number of required parking spaces, subject to the conditions set forth in the staff memo on pages 3 and 4, excluding and striking from those conditions 1A, 1H, and 1I, and the waivers as requested by the applicant.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
On the motion, Board Member Cortez?
Yes.
Board Member Moremi?
Yes.
Board Member Torcono?
Yes.
Board Member Sacco?
Yes.
My vote's yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next up is 27 to 29 and 31 Camp Street.
Through the chair, the applicant is online, and I have asked him to unmute. Hopefully I did that correctly.
Okay.
Change the screen.
Extension of time.
Good evening.
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you.
Great. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, my name is Matt Eckel. I am an attorney with Fletcher Tilton on behalf of the applicant. And for the record, I reside in Burlington, Massachusetts. We're here tonight to respectfully request a 6-month extension in connection to the special permit and variances previously granted by this board back on June 23rd of last year, relating to the proposed project at 31 Camp Street as well as 27-29 Camp Street. By way of very brief background, I know it's been a long night already, so I'll be brief. The applicant received an approval from this board for a new 2-family building at 31 Camp Street, along with parking and site improvements. For this portion of the project, the applicant received variances from the board relating to the lot area, frontage, and height of the proposed building. The companion case, which was filed under 27-29 Camp Street, also received relief, despite no changes actually being proposed to that portion of the lot. However, since they had been considered merged for zoning, we did need to seek relief for that portion of the lot as well. And specifically, we received relief in the form of a variance for lot area and a special permit relating to the parking setback requirements and drive aisles with parking and loading requirements. The applicant still remains committed to commencing this project as soon as possible and bringing much needed residential housing units to the city. And currently, no changes are proposed to the previously approved project. We just need a little bit more time, and therefore we are respectfully requesting your approval for a 6-month extension. With that, I'll happily pause and take any questions you may have.
Through the chair, Amy Beth Lath for the Planning Division. Everything the applicant said. I will, one point of clarification though, I think, and I'm going to look to my colleague, Ms. Smith, just to shake her head for me. The variances can have a 6-month extension. I'm fairly certain that the special permit can get a year. And also, the special permits can be administratively approved for an extension through inspectional services, if that needs to happen in the future, if that's a thing. So just one point of clarification. But for the new deadlines, just for the board, the variance deadline would be January 15, 2027, and the special permit would be July 15, 2027. Thank you.
Is there any comment? Great. Sounds good to me. I'm happy to move forward. Board Member Barton Hagan's voting on this. Board Member Barton Hagan?
No comment.
Board Member Maremi?
No comments.
Board Member Cortez?
No comment.
Board Member Trocono?
No comment.
Board Member Sacco?
No comment.
All right, I'll take a motion to close.
I'd like to make a motion to close on 27, 29, and 31 Camp Street.
Is there a second?
Second.
On the motion to close, Board Member Cortez?
Yes.
Board Member Maremi?
Yes.
Board Member Trocono?
Yes.
Board Member Bart Hagan?
Yes.
My vote's yes. Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion for 27 to 29 and 31 Camp Street for an extension of time. The extension for the variance would be extended to January 15th, 2027, and the extension of the previously approved special permit would be through July 15th, 2027.
Is there a second?
Second.
On the motion, Board Member Cortez?
Yes.
Board Member Maremi?
Yes.
Board Member Trocono?
Yes.
Board Member Bart Hagan?
Yes.
My vote's yes. All right. Next up
Thank you very much.
Next up is 30 LaGrange Street.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Donald O'Neill. I'm a lawyer here in Worcester. And here this evening, on behalf of Worcester OZ Fund 2 LLC. And this is a request that we filed to allow for the expansion or alteration of a pre-existing non-conforming parking use. This is a use which is allowed in the underlying zone. However, because it is also in the CCOD overlay district, does not allow for non-accessory parking. The property itself has a history going back 30-plus years of being used for parking for parcels, in this case primarily for something that was on the other side of LaGrange Street. And what we're looking to do is utilize this parking. My clients are also involved in the property at 98 Beacon Street, which is a former industrial mill building that has been approved for up to 58 apartments. The situation there is that the parking that goes with that parcel is 8 to 10 spaces. And although there is no parking requirement in the CCOD overlay district, there is still a need for parking for tenants. And because the property is not directly across the street, but pretty close, but there's no ability to, they would have to be on the same side of the street and adjacent to each other to be considered accessory parking, which would be permitted. Staff has gone through, and I should say also that the parking plan that we had submitted to you was originally developed when this parking area was part of the other development on that side of the street. So and that is the location that we are proposing has been cut out of the other parcel with portions of 30 LaGrange Street and 42 LaGrange Street. Our purpose really in terms of coming forward tonight is to get the board's permission to proceed with an alteration or expansion of the existing parking lot. There may be a few things that change on this, but that would all be done so that it would fit within the A&R lot that was created to establish this lot. So some of the issues that, for example, the parking lot setback requirement is 3 feet, but if there's a property line, it's 5 feet. So there's going to be a little bit of work that needs to be done there, and it's entirely possible that if we need some kind of relief for that, that we would be back before you once the plan is further refined. I should also say that because it's in the overlay district, it will require site plan approval and a parking plan. But we didn't want to go to the effort of redesigning the parking lot. And this is like 90% or 95% of what we would be coming back with. But we wanted to confirm the use first. So I have looked at the comments from staff, and those were very similar to the comments that were generated when the project was initially looked at by the planning board. So for our purposes, we're comfortable proceeding with those recommendations with likely understanding that we may be back before you at some point. The other thing I would say is that one of the comments which we're fine with is that the parking expansion that we're proposing, that this lot be sort of dedicated to the property at 100 Beacon Street so that it doesn't become, ballpark parking or something of that nature, but it is just going to be the residential parking component for the across the street. I would request the waiver, which is on page 5 of 10, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Great. City staff.
Through the chair, Michelle Smith in the city's planning division. In front of you again this evening, a request in this case to expand, alter, change a pre-existing non-conforming use. In this case, we are located in the BG6, so the downtown district, with the commercial corridors overlay district, the CCOD. We don't like parking lots in this area. So the zoning code prohibits them when they're not accessory to something else. So as you heard the applicant's counsel describe, basically prior iterations of this redevelopment of the larger campus area, if you will, to support housing development, did envision continuously this location as parking in the form that you essentially see on the plans here, which were plans previously submitted to the planning board for consideration. They were approved for a special permit to exceed the maximum requirements for parking that we have in that district to be able to facilitate the construction of this amount of parking. Subsequent to that, based on the financing and my understanding of just kind of the different players and how things worked out, essentially they've had to carve this lot off onto its own lot for financing purposes. And so the applicant is now different than what it was originally. And so this proposal is really associated with the former 98, now 100 Beacon location, which is on the corner of Beacon and LaGrange. You see top right corner here. That is going to be converted into, I believe it's 58 residential units. So that historic building being converted, so this parking lot is in support of that, not because of zoning. Zoning has no parking requirements, so this is not needed from a zoning perspective. I think it's an important thing for folks to be thinking about, especially as we start talking about changing zoning requirements for parking. Just because we don't require parking doesn't mean people don't build it. Case in point. So really the use itself is not allowed. Non-accessory surface parking lots are not allowed. We allow garages, and we allow parking to be accessory to something else. So in terms of the applicant's options by right, they have the ability to construct a garage, similar or larger. Obviously, there's a cost associated with a parking garage. They could construct a small building or a large building and have parking associated with that. They could not provide parking and instead provide some dense housing development on this lot. Hopefully that will come in the future and it won't need parking, but at this moment in time, that is what they're hoping to be able to do. So if you look at or drove by the site or looked at any of the aerial imagery and the documentation provided, you can see that there's a lengthy history of the property being used for parking of vehicles, most recently in association with a property across the street in sort of a Quonset hut area that was an auto body shop, and they were parking cars over here. And so the applicant provided basically a attested statement from the prior owner about the history of the use of that for the last 30 years or so, indicating that they had not a lease, but an informal arrangement where basically someone was using that property for parking. So they are looking to reconstruct, demolish all of that, reconstruct something that is much larger, but in more modern form than the regrinds and gravel and spots of pavement that are out there today if you went by. So what we do have, as Attorney O'Neill mentioned, is a plan that is likely to change based on the nature of what the site was at the time this proposal was put forward. You can see there are stairwells that interconnect with the adjacent lots. Don't believe that those are likely to be proposed any longer. There's a transformer. I'm not sure if the transformer will still be necessary. So some of our comments, we really kind of regurgitated for the most part the comments we'd previously issued on this concept. And pulled those forward as conditions that you have here. Essentially, the applicant will either be back in front of you for an amendment to this and possibly additional relief if they can't comply with those requirements, because they reconfigured the lots to create this on its own lot, and in doing that, there are likely some issues with the setbacks for the parking area that they've created. The plans don't expressly clearly show that on a survey that has been provided. So that's something we're looking to get so that we can kind of confirm that. Without that, we're not able to verify zoning compliance. So again, in kind of a couple projects tonight where there's a little bit of caveats on these where we don't have that level of information to review. As was stated, planning board will need to review this for a full parking plan review. So that will be something that will be necessary were the board to move this forward. But really the applicant's here to have you consider the existing use, its privilege, and hopefully see that this, what they're proposing, is an upgrade from what is there and has historically been there as this neighborhood continues to transform and change away from relic manufacturing uses and move forward into housing and hopefully a continued vibrant neighborhood. So I can go into more detail, but basically 41 spaces is what's shown on the plan that you have had the opportunity to review. And the applicant does have a zone change pending, a sort of a plan B, if you will, or the board not to grant this. That went in front of the planning board, was not favorably recommended from planning board, and was sent back to city council for economic development committee. So just a little context and other things, other moving pieces to facilitate this project. We were able to identify this as a potential pathway with a shorter timeline, and the applicant has, as you're seeing this evening, pursued that. So I don't need to go over really any of the comments that I have. I think the applicant's agreeable to all the conditions. This is an area, just contextually for Now Next, that is sort of at the transitional fringe of a managed growth area and a transformational growth area, an artisan growth area associated with those mill buildings. It didn't include this side of the street, and then the infill corridor of Main Street, all very walkable to transit. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Is anybody here for? 30 LaGrange. Anybody online? All this to keep a parking lot. I'm happy to move this forward. Board member, we'll go, so voting on this, it will be board member, wait, who just voted? Board member Sacco. But we'll start in the room. Board member Barthagen?
Yeah, I don't have any additional comments to make. No.
Board member Remy?
No other comments.
Board member Cortez?
Moving through. No comments.
Board member Torcono?
I'm good. No comment.
Board member Sacco?
No comment.
All right, I'll take a motion to close.
I'd like to make a motion to close on 30 LaGrange Street and a portion of 42 LaGrange Street.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
On the motion, board member Cortez?
Yes.
Board member Maremi?
Yes.
Board member Torcono? Board member Torcono?
Yes.
Board member Sacco?
Yes.
My vote's yes. Is there a motion on 30 LaGrange Street?
I'd like to make a motion on 30 LaGrange Street and a portion of 42 LaGrange Street for approval of a special permit to extend, alter, or change a privileged pre-existing non-conforming structure and/or use, subject to the conditions of approval set forth on pages 4 to 5 of the staff memo, and the waiver is requested by the applicant.
So moved.
Excuse me. Is there a second?
I do second the motion.
On the motion, board member Cortez?
Yes.
Board member Maremi?
Yes.
Board member Torcono?
Yes.
Board member Sacco?
Yes.
My vote's yes. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you very much.
All right. It does not appear that we have any communications. And I don't think, did we have? Okay. I was like, I didn't see any, so I'll make sure. In that case, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.